except you. You don't know the drill. You're about to learn the drill. Ready? Come on, everybody up. All right. We got a new crowd here. Tuesday nighters. They have a Tuesday nighter. All right. Give yourself a round of applause. I'm just checking for a pulse, making sure everybody's awake. Can you all hear me? Yes. More, maybe just a little bit more. This will help for the Facebook crowd. If we don't hear it in the speakers, then they can't hear it. Can you guys hear me in the speakers overhead a little bit? Just a little bit. Okay. That should be good. All right. Welcome to our diabetes and blood sugar reversal workshop. Are you guys here to learn something tonight? Say yes. Aye. Okay. So we're here because we want to get healthier, because, well, really from a standpoint of prevention, is it important to stay out of doctor's offices, off of medication, out of hospitals as much as possible, right? Because once you're there, it's what? Forever. It's forever. It's not fun, and it's too late. So, for those of you who have been through that, you know that it's not good to be in crisis. And it's much healthier and much less stressful to always be one step ahead, right? And that's what tonight is about. I'm going to try to help you as much as I can stay on top of this thing, whether you have diabetes, blood sugar problems, or you think you don't. We're all in the same boat. You're either preventing diabetes or you're developing it. And so we're not here to kid ourselves. We're here to make sure. Clara, I got your seat right here, Clara, right up front. We're here to make sure that we're on top of our game. So tonight's diabetes and blood sugar control. Next month we have our Fixing Your Broken Brain workshop. How many of you guys need a brain that's in need of a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of fixing? You're starting to forget your grandchildren's names, your kids. You forget where you put your car keys. You're instead of calling the name of the thing that you're trying to think about by its name, you're thinking about that thing. What's that? I just keep forgetting that word, that thing. Okay, so dementia, Alzheimer's, real thing these days. You're going to learn how it ties into some of what we're talking about tonight. But this workshop coming up, I can tell you that this is probably one of the most important workshops that you will be attending this year. This dementia and Alzheimer's, all about how to, create brain health. And I would strongly encourage you guys to make sure that you have that in your schedule. How many of you have been to a workshop before? Keep your hands if you've been up to a workshop before. How many of you guys have been to 5 or 10 workshops? Keep your hands up. How many of you have been to 20 or 30 workshops, 50 workshops, 100 workshops? Okay. So just to give you an idea, how many of you guys, this is your first workshop? Raise your hand. We have a couple of people. Good. Give them a round of applause. Good. All right. You're among friends. And all the hands that you saw go up, there's a reason for that. And because you're always going to learn something when you come to a workshop. When you stop learning, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you start what? Dying. So we're here to continue to learn and grow. And that includes myself. So as it pertains to diabetes and your blood sugar, if you're diabetic, it cuts off an average of 8.5 years off of your life expectancy. Adults with diabetes have a lower life expectancy at every age compared to non-diabetics. So nobody likes being diabetic. Once you're diagnosed with diabetes, I've never met anyone who wished that they didn't have it. So why in the world would anybody wind up with that condition or not try to reverse it? If type 2 diabetes is 100% reversible, then why do people still have it? Why, if you do have it, why wouldn't you do something about it? Well, the responses I hear is, what is it? It just comes with age. Like, everybody's got it. It's so common, it's normal. And it runs in my family, so it's like no surprise. Everybody in my family's on diabetes medications. Everybody's been diagnosed with diabetes. Why not me? Yeah, I know it's reversible, but I'm so busy right now. I know what I need to do. It's not a good time. And it's just too hard. I know diabetes is reversible. It's just too hard to stay on track. Eating good and exercising, I know what to do, but it's just too hard. And then, well, I love this one. Yeah, I'm doing good. No, I mean, my diabetes is doing really good right now. My meds have it under control. I love when people tell me that. It's like, well, you might be missing something here, but the Journal of the American Medical Association is on top of this. They published the articles, the studies, and it shows that the medications that if you're on these diabetes medications, it doesn't mean you've corrected the cause of the problem. While you're on these medications, it may be doing more harm than good. And this comes from the Journal of the American Medical Association. Guys, this is the world's most prestigious medical journal. They're telling you this is not a long-term solution to fix your diabetes. It doesn't fix diabetes. It doesn't correct the cause of the problem. So the question I always ask is, which is worse, the disease or the treatment? Right? Which is worse? I say the treatment is worse than the disease. And I'm not just saying that for diabetes. I would say that for cancer. I would say that for heart disease. I would say that for any disease. The treatment is worse than disease, and most of the time what I see happen is that the treatment kills the patient faster than the disease kills them. If you watch out, Laurel, what are you doing? Laurel, come on up here. That's what happens when you come in late. You get embarrassed. You have a good excuse. It's flooded out there. It's horrible. I'm just happy and thankful that everybody here made it safely as they did. So I'm just kidding. Laurel's been to over 100 workshops. I can pick on her and we can have fun, so it's okay. So if you watch people that are being treated for this and they don't understand what's happening, they can't wrap their mind around the concept that when the body is sick, it's not because of a lack of medication or chemotherapy or radiation. Some people, they just can't wrap their mind around that, so they go from one medication to the next and dealing with side effect after side effect after side effect, and the problems just never end until their life ends. And the life ends a lot shorter than what God had intended for it. And that's what it is. Metformin doubles your chances of dying from cardiovascular problems. Takes care of the symptom, but it doesn't correct the what? Doesn't correct the cause. Insulin resistance continues, and the patient requires higher and higher dosages. This is the same thing with insulin. Why do you need insulin? Because you have high blood sugar. That's the first problem. When your blood sugar runs high, you have insulin resistance. What do they give you? More insulin. Insulin is a hormone. When insulin goes up, your body goes into fat storing. So when you have high levels of insulin, you start gaining what? Gaining weight, yeah. And we know it to be true that the more weight you gain, the more insulin resistant you become, and it just turns into this vicious cycle. That's why this is so damaging. Databases globally support the same premise. Here's a Dutch database that showed high daily insulin doses with 3 times the risk of cardiovascular incidents. In heart failure patients, insulin use is associated with more than 4 times the risk of death. United Kingdom General Practice database showed insulin increased the risk of cancer by 42%, compared with a glucose-lowering drug that did not raise insulin. So, as you can see, insulin is one of the worst medications that you could give a diabetic unless you're trying to kill them as quickly as possible. So what about A1C? Everybody knows how important A1C is, right? When you're looking at your A1C, come on in, Luther. Yeah. When you're looking at your A1C, you're looking at a trend in terms of what's happening with your blood sugar, and you can see that everybody knows it where, your A1C should be below 5.7. Can everybody see that? All right, so that's important, and for every 1% increase over that 5.7, there's a 12 to 14% increase in the risk of death, 18% increase in the risk of cardiovascular events, 37% increased risk of eye disease or kidney disease. So every 1% increase in your A1C, you're starting to get deeper and deeper into trouble. Can everybody see that? Least of which is your risk of what? Alzheimer's disease. And if you're not aware of this, there's a 100% correlation in people who run high A1C and their risk of dementia and ultimately Alzheimer's disease. Because what they're showing is that there's a correlation with brain shrinkage. Your brain actually shrinks when you run high A1C, and it remains uncorrected. Neurology journals showed the degree of brain tissue loss in the individuals with the lowest A1C, 4.4 to 5.2, compared to those with the highest A1C. The brain loss in the individuals with the highest A1C was what? Was double than those that are in the normal range. So there it is. I mean, how important is it to make sure that you're on top of this, bringing it down? And you can't hide it. You can't mask it with medication. It's something that has to be controlled with your lifestyle. And we're going to get into this. So the two things I'm going to cover, which are driving the diabetes, is number one, glucose, and number two, fructose. There are two things. How many things? Two. One is, what did I say? Starts with a G? Glucose. And the other one starts with an F? Fructose. Okay, now the fructose is even more dangerous than the glucose. And we're going to, what? Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you're here. So we're on to something big here. But as I've taught this over the years, things change. You know, all the smartest minds in the scientific community come out with these different theories. And you know that when glucose has trouble getting into the cell, that's when we have insulin resistance. So in a normal cell, you can see the cell down there. That's the round thing. And it says those little yellow dots in there, that's the glucose that's actually in the cell. And then that little thing where the arrow is pointing to, that's the insulin receptor. The insulin receptor takes the glucose into the cell. It's like a lock and key. And when that's working well, then a person doesn't have insulin resistance. Then they have normal blood sugar. It comes out of the blood and then gets into the cell. Now, one theory, and this is the one that I've taught the longest, which shows that the insulin receptors, because there's so much glucose, insulin is elevated all the time. The receptors, the insulin receptors, they just get beaten down and worn out, so they become resistant. And when the insulin receptors just shut down, then you can't get the glucose into the cell. So that is the starvation theory. And typically, historically, that's really the most popular version of why somebody has insulin resistance. Are you with me so far? But then this one came out more recently, and I taught this at the last diabetes workshop. This is the overflow paradigm. This is not the situation where the receptors are insulin resistant. This is really an overflow situation. There's too much glucose in the cell, and so you can't stuff any more in. The body can't get any more in because it's already overstuffed inside the cell, so it spills over. It's almost like overstuffing your suitcase before you go on a vacation. You know, stuff is falling out of it, and you're trying to sit on it and close it up. Kind of the same thing. But either way, we're left with the same result. The glucose can't get into the cell. You got too much running around in the bloodstream, and you're running high insulin levels. Does that make sense? All right, so that affects your liver, that affects your eyes, that affects your ears, that affects your blood supply, your vision. Then you start winding up with all these other diseases from the diabetes. So it's got to get corrected, regardless of whatever hypothesis or theory they think is causing it. That's just the explanation. The approach has to be getting your blood sugar under control, right? The only way to get insulin under control is to get your glucose under control. And so that comes down to a couple of things. So that's from the glucose standpoint, right? All the cells in your muscles and your organs, they use glucose, but fructose is not used by all the different cells in your body. The only organ, the only place where fructose is metabolized is where? In the liver. In the what? The liver, yeah. No other cells in the body can process or metabolize fructose. It goes directly to the liver like a heat-seeking missile. Did you know that? So this is really important because it could be very harmful, and in fact, it's more strongly linked to obesity and diabetes. You see what it says up there? More strongly linked to obesity and diabetes than glucose. We don't stop and think about this, but this is where we start to see people being affected with diabetes who are not overweight because of the damage to the liver. So when the liver has too much sugar in it, it starts to overflow. And what it does is now it starts to convert it to fat. When it has enough sugar stored up in it, the liver, now it starts converting that sugar to fat. And then what happens is you start developing something called fatty liver disease. Hello, have we heard of that? And that's where we have heard the term skinny fat people. Because they look skinny on the outside, but they have all this adipose fat that's going around their internal organs because of the way the liver is processing this. Now, this comes back to, again, the fructose. And only the liver can metabolize fructose like we talked about. And what else? Alcohol. Same thing. Liver processes fructose and alcohol the same way. So this is where we get the fatty liver from, and the obesity and the diabetes. Overconsumption of fructose produces fatty liver and insulin resistance directly without disturbing what? Blood glucose. What does that mean? Well, your blood sugar could be normal, right? But you could be developing insulin resistance. So here you have it. Now, what do you see in the pictures all down there? You see orange juice. You see a big, tall thing of fruit, right? You see the juicy juice, the ketchup, which has high fructose corn syrup. I would say most of the damage and the obesity that's caused today in diabetics, the majority of people who are getting diagnosed from this are from the overconsumption of these soft drinks and the high fructose corn syrup. But then again, I have patients, and I know a lot of people, who all of a sudden their A1C has been trending much higher as of late. And they're not really going off course with their diet in terms of grains and sugars and high fructose corn syrup. They've been having more fruits. Guess what favorite fruit is in season right now? Mangoes, yeah. So that's just like an example. You know, if you're eating mangoes all day, every day, this is going to be driving that. And we have to keep an eye on it, because it comes down to how much the body can handle. You know, fruits are not bad for you, but it's the dose that makes the poison. Right, Edna? Too much of a good thing is not a good thing. And when you have a small cup of fruit, it's got fiber in it, you know, the whole process of digestion is slowed down. It's not a bad thing. But if you're going to eat a whole big tub of fruit like that, and this is something that's done regularly, you could see how it starts becoming a problem. When you have the orange juice, and you don't have the fiber to, you know, when you do fresh squeezed oranges, maybe you need, like, how many do you need for a tall glass of orange juice, right? You need a lot of them. So when you're drinking a tall glass of orange juice, that's a concentrated amount of sugar in it. When you eat one orange, it's got all the fiber in it, it's got the nutrients, and that fiber slows down the digestive process, and it keeps your blood sugar stable. And it's an important part of your nutrition and the whole process of digestion and managing your blood glucose. But without that, in the absence of that, when you're drinking, you know, fruit juices and soft drinks and all of these things, you can see how it affects it in a detrimental way. Can everybody see that? So when you look at the sugars, which could be doing the most damage, from highest to lowest content, you see dates, bananas very high in sugar, lychee fruits, grapes, figs, mangoes, pomegranates, cherries, blueberries. Now we're starting to get into the low spectrum there. We always talk about having berries, right? Berries are low sugar fruit. Then you have your kiwis, strawberries, avocados, blackberries, grapefruits, and raspberries. So I always have my fruits in the morning. I have a small bowl of fruit, very, very small, with almond butter. We talk about that, right? You've heard me talk about that. But I don't normally have fruits any other time during the day. I just don't. I won't have them as a snack. I'll just do it in the morning to replenish after I exercise. And I find that that's the best day. So this is one of those things that you want to check yourself with. Okay, so any questions on that so far? Is this making sense? Because for some of us, we're scratching our head like, I don't understand, you know, I'm not overweight. You know, this may be an issue, and we need to look carefully at this. If there are problems with your blood sugar, your glucose, or your A1C, you also need to look at your fruit content. You need to look at your alcohol content, how much of that you're consuming every day, and take inventory of this, because this could be one of those factors that's flying under the radar. All right, so I want to play this video here, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of how we can start making an impact on this positively. So I want to just play this here.
Diagnosis and what did I do to deal with it. I felt as though this is part of getting older. We heard these stories before. You get older, you're supposed to get some form of chronic disease, and it was almost a surrender until the vision loss. That was like a wake-up call and say, you know what, if I'm going to have to lose this war of health, it's not going to be without a battle. Went to my computer and Googled, reversing diabetes. And I was just hoping to get a glimpse in what's in the universe of slowing down the progression of how could I slow down my eye loss, how could I slow down the nerve damage, how do I slow it down? But when I started to see the R term used over and over again, reversal, and I started reading some of the stories, I said, you know what, something may be to this. And that is when I started the journey of saying, you know what, it's no more living with, it was about reversing, and I moved in that direction. 3 weeks after that, my eyesight cleared up. My ophthalmologist, said, what did you do? What happened here? Because she told me to turn in my driver's license. She stated that you are no longer legally able to drive, And 3 months after following the diet, my blood pressure normalized. My A1C went down to a 5.7 to a pre-diabetes level. The ulcer went away. The nerve damage in my hands and feet went away. The numbness in my thigh went away. It was just amazing, that how fast the body responded.
That's amazing, isn't it? How few people know that, and they're just hopeless and helpless, and it's like he was just hoping he could just live with it or just stop it from getting worse. And then he saw it, he asked, and he found it. There it is. It's like, yeah, you don't have to live with it. It's totally reversible. And it's sad, like how few people know how easy it is actually to reverse this type of disease. And the tools are there. So I'm not inventing this. It's out there. I'm just giving you, like he said, a little bit of a glimpse here. But it's up to each of us to take those tools and make application with that. Only you can do that. I can share it with you, but the question is, why wouldn't you? I went over some of these excuses in the beginning. We all have excuses, but somebody once told me excuses are like toilet bowls. Everybody's got one, they all stink. And in the end, they don't serve us. We become shackled. We become slaves to this, this label, this diagnosis that somebody puts on us. I'm a diabetic. I'm a heart patient. I'm a this. I'm a that. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're a child of God. You're created fearfully and wonderfully in His image. The disease doesn't claim you. You don't go down without a fight. You claim victory, and you take these weapons of warfare, which is the knowledge that you're given, and you go forth spiritually, physically, and mentally. And you can do it. Everybody can do it. And I know that for a fact because I've seen people do it. The difference between somebody who gets the results and doesn't is the person who's willing and bold and actually takes action, right? Nobody can debate that. And I'm not saying I'm a guru. I'm not saying I'm Superman. I'm not saying I'm perfect. But it's, what it really comes down to? Once you apply these things and you do it long enough, they become habit. And good habits are really hard to break. Good habits are just as hard to break as bad habits. If you're doing things that are constantly keeping you enslaved into the bad results that you're getting with your health, you're just doing bad habits. But if you change them, give it at least 30 days, and you're doing these habits long enough, it'll be easy to stay on track. As a matter of fact, you won't feel right if you get off track. It won't feel good. So hopefully I'm making sense with all that. But I just want to take a moment to recognize some of our star patients. Deborah, you're not a patient.
Yeah.
Well, you are a patient.
But both of them are
Oh,
with
they're
weather.
huh? They're what?
They're cotton weather.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that's kind of a weird deal. Well, I guess that means we'll be finishing earlier. Yeah, she's so stinking long-winded. That'll save us some time. That's what they're thinking right now. Yeah, you probably told them to stay home, didn't you? I can go home earlier. Oh gosh, I'm just having too much fun tonight. Okay, so how do we get control out of this, right, Clara? How do we get this under control? How do you get your blood sugar under control? First and foremost, you got to understand the effect that foods have on you. You see all that up there? What do you see? that picture of breads, pasta, rice, cereal, potato. You see all that up there? When you eat all that, this is what your insulin levels do. They go up. And then in order to get the sugar into the cell, that insulin has to go up to bring the glucose into the cell. But remember, that insulin in response to the glucose now in your bloodstream, that insulin's a hormone. And what did we say your body does? When insulin goes up, what does your body do to fat? It what? It stores it. It wants to make more fat. And that's not just true of you and I, that's true of farm animals too. That's how they bulk up all the farm animals and get more bang for the buck. They don't feed them grass. What do they feed them? Grain. Yeah, corn and green and all these things. Yeah, soy too. So they're going to do all that stuff, and they know what they're doing to make those farm animals as fat as possible. By the way, those are the cuts of meat that taste the best. But incidentally, that's done with intention with farm animals, but it's done unintentionally with you and I. We are eating these things because they're filling and they taste really good, but the same process is happening in us as it is the farm animals. It's storing fat. It's storing fat in our organs. It's storing fat around our liver, our heart, in our skeletal muscle. Everywhere, your body is depositing fat. It's creating fat. So, how do we fix that? How do we control that hormone? Because insulin is really the culprit right here. Insulin is the hormone that makes you fat. So, how do we control the insulin response? By controlling the what? By controlling your blood sugar. How do we control your blood sugar? Instead of eating that up there, we have to start eating foods that don't cause your blood sugar to rise like that don't cause your blood sugar to spike. So, you look at all that, you see the fruits, the vegetables, the meats, the dairy, the fatty fish, even red meats, the good oils. All of these things do not provoke an insulin response. And that being the case, your insulin stays level, your body doesn't store fat. Instead, it continuously burns it. Raise your hand if you want to be a fat burner. Say aye. Aye. Okay, so we're on the same page. So the first thing that somebody with high A1C or running high glucose levels or blood sugar or overweight or diabetic or pre-diabetic, you got to kill the carbs. That's the only way to reverse these insulin levels. And by doing that, you're reversing fatty liver disease, obesity, heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, vision loss. Degenerative disease is expensive. You understand that, guys? Diabetes, the person who is diabetic and they're treating that for decades, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this is what you're saving when you make these choices. Now, you see that up there? You see all the diet sodas? Is that a good idea to have instead of like a high fructose corn syrup drink? You can't fool your body. When you drink that stuff, even though there's no sugar in it or high fructose corn syrup, it doesn't fool your body. Your body still has the same response. So they know this now, that people who drink even diet sodas, it causes even more diabetes than the regular sodas. So stay away from that. And you look at all those things, you have to go very, very easy on the alcohol consumption. You can have a really good diet with the nutrition and not have a lot of these complex carbohydrates. But if you're drinking every day, you're not going to be able to get your A1C and your blood sugar where it needs to be as quickly as you could. So keep that in consideration. This is another thing that a lot of people try to, finagle and work out and not give up the way they should. But it all has to be done accordingly. You have to put this all in its perspective. Everything has its proper place. And when you look at all these, the potatoes, the pasta, the breads, even these snacks, these fruit bars, when you look at the labels, you're going to see it's loaded with sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and hydrogenated fats. And all of it causes inflammation and high blood sugar.
Question.
Yes?
Is there a reason why there isn't a picture of a bottle of wine in the alcohol?
There's really no reason. I just went on Google Images and that's what I grabbed, and that was the best quality picture so that everybody could recognize it. But wine, it would be the same thing. Wine, it would be the same thing. So, there are studies that show that a glass of wine every day does have heart health benefits. And they're trying to tie that to the resveratrol, but the reality is there's not enough resveratrol inside a glass of wine. You have to get copious amounts of this stuff. So if you get copious amounts of it, then maybe you could. So the point is that whatever you're looking for, you'll find it. If you want to find a study to justify something that you want to hang on to, even though you know that it's hindering your progress with your health, you'll find what you're looking for. But in the end, what the Bible says, there's a way that seemeth right to a man, but in the end it leads to death. There's just no way to crack it up. I mean, if you're trying to, and I don't say you can't enjoy some of these foods, and I'm not saying that the average person can't enjoy a glass of wine or this and that, but here's what it boils down to. If you're sitting here and your A1C is going through the roof, or you're diabetic, you're on multiple medications, you're looking for a way out, wouldn't it make sense to just clean it up, get it under control, and then maybe reward yourself with a little bit of that stuff from time to time? You got to heal up first before you can have yourself a cheat day. And that's kind of how I look at it, just to put it into perspective. So, in your handout, and you don't have to get googly-eyed with this now, you'll have it, you'll know when you go home, you'll have this in your handout. That little food pyramid on the right, and what I did was I tried to just make it as easy as possible. Something called the paleo diet. Have you ever heard of the paleo diet? Okay. Paleo diet is not the end-all, be-all, but you know what? It's a great alternative to the standard American diet, to the food pyramid that they gave us in school. That food pyramid that they gave us in school on the left side, can everybody see that up there? Look at the food pyramid on the left there. On the bottom, look up here, look on the screen, everybody. Look on the screen. So on the bottom of that food pyramid, what do you see there? Bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, cereals, all that stuff that they told us should be the majority of your daily diet, 60%. What is that doing to your blood glucose? It's elevating it. What is it doing for your insulin levels? Elevating it. Does it make sense that living a lifestyle according to these guidelines would create more diabetes, more obesity, more of the problem, Joe, right? That we're seeing today that we've ever seen in decades? Well, that's when it was instituted in 1997. Just between 97 and 2007, just in that decade, they saw the number of cases of diabetes double. At this point, it's already up 400 or 500%. So that's why I think the paleo diet's an easy lateral transition, where you look at that base. The majority of your foods, your intake every day, is not the carbs. It's the protein, fats, and oils. Your proteins, fats, and oils. The proteins are up to you. Grass-fed meat, cuts, chicken, make sure, again, it's organic, grass-fed, all the things that or you should be doing. But you choose your proteins, could have some dairy in there, eggs, chicken, whatever it is. But that should be the base of your diet right there. You could have seafood. You could have, yeah.
Is that an egg next to the fish?
And an egg next to the fish. Yeah, that's an egg. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So any protein sources, chicken, eggs, fish. So that's really the base. Just to give you an idea, it's a crude picture, but just to make the point: proteins, fats, and oils. That's the base. Something that does not provoke the insulin response. Everybody with me?
Yeah.
And then you go to your next layer there. Then you got your safe starches in your vegetables. And then up there, then you have your fruits. Now they do show bananas and things like that, and pineapples, which are higher in fruits. But again, the point being, which are the high sugar fruits. You know where your A1C and your blood sugar is, because everybody's different. The choices that you make are dependent on you, not the person next to you. So that's why I give you a range and I try to show you, and then ultimately, it's important that you make the best decision for yourself. Right, Denise?
Yes.
Everybody's different. So, is that food pyramid helpful for you? That's why I figured, let's put it in there. You guys can take it home, look at it, put it on your refrigerator, take it to Publix when you go shopping. And that's an easy solution right there. What does it show you on the bottom to not have? Again, very simple. Bread, sugar, milk, rice, corn, beans, potatoes. So if you're looking for a good healing diet, if you're trying to get your blood sugar under control because you seem like you're doing everything right, but you're not getting the right results, look at that. See what box remains unchecked. And this could be helpful for you. So these are some of the things that I'll tend to eat during the week, starting with breakfast. This is my kitchen counter. That's my almond butter. Those are my berries. Strawberries we'll cut up, and so I'll have the Ultraplex Complete Clean. It's a shake. It's a pretty good amount of protein in it. Very low in carbs, and I'll take. You can mix it with almond milk or coconut milk. I like to mix it with water because it's just quick. Just put 2 scoops in there, and I have all my antioxidants, my low level detox. It's got a full multivitamin spectrum in it, and then I'll have that with my berries. And the almond butter gives you a good amount of fat in there, so that you don't get hungry after. And this is probably one of the cleanest, most efficient, nutrient-dense, nutrient-packed ways to start your day. And even when I go out of town, I take this with me. And this is the breakfast of champions, I call it that. Because what are you doing to your blood sugar when you start with a low-sugar meal like that?
Stable.
You're keeping it stable. Yeah, you start your day in fat burning. Nadine? Yeah.
Do you mix your Ultraplex with almond milk and butter also, the almond butter?
No. So some people make a shake and they'll throw it all in there, and you can do that. Yeah. Some of my patients, they have the Complete Clean with the almond butter. Some of them like the coconut milk. It's a preference. And both of those drinks have a good amount of fat in them. So you don't necessarily even need to have the almond butter. If you just had the berries, I just like that. I prefer it that way. I like to mix it with the water. It mixes really easy for me. Normally I'll do that as soon as I'm done working out, and then I'm in the shower and out the door in literally 10 minutes. So for me, that's quick. I like it. I'm in and out, and I have a good recovery drink and strategy after my workout. And then I come right into the office. So that's what I like to do. That's generally how I start my day. And then we just did this a couple of nights ago. This is breakfast, but you can do this for dinner too. You got scrambled eggs, and you have your tomatoes, onions, peppers. You can do that. What do you not see in that breakfast picture right there? Bread. You don't see muffins, croissants, bagels, cereal. You don't see any of that there, right? Waffles, pancakes. No. And so you have some avocado dishes there. For lunch, best thing that you could do is have a salad with a piece of protein on it. There's a Caesar salad with salmon, one of my favorites. Grouper salads. I love grouper. We were just down in the Keys last weekend. I had grouper for lunch. I had grouper for dinner 2 nights in a row. It's one of my favorites. And a Greek salad is good also. You have a little bit of protein in there from the feta cheese. You can have a piece of chicken on there. What are these meals I showed you for breakfast? You have fat in that meal. And what do you see for your salads also? What is really important that you have? We saw that in the base of the pyramid there. It was protein, yep. And what was the other one? Fats, the omega fats, so important. And not only will those oils, those good fats, keep you from getting hungry from one meal to the next, but what does it do for your blood sugar? Because it slows down the digestive process, it actually has a stabilizing effect on your blood sugar. Did you know that? That's why it's really important, Micheline. Yeah. Okay, so that extra virgin olive oil, that should be going on all your salads, even if you have vegetables for lunch. Let's say you go out for lunch and you have a piece of fish and they give you vegetables. Make sure that you're using extra virgin olive oil as often as you can for lunch and then also for dinner. I would be putting, if I made my lamb chops, I'd be putting extra virgin olive oil all over that broccolini. I'd be putting extra virgin olive oil all over my string beans or asparagus and my tomatoes and that chicken breast. I'd be doing my stir fry in extra virgin olive oil on low heat. And what do you not see in that stir fry? Rice. Very good. Okay. So this is the difference. For a lot of people, this flies under the radar, and they have a lot of trouble, and they struggle, with their weight and their blood sugar. But it's clear as day what you do not see in any of these meals right here: bread, pasta, rice, cereal, potatoes, any of that stuff. And if we can just get past that on the old food pyramid, immediately you should start seeing results. And it shouldn't be difficult. And you'll know this when you have these meals, especially at night. Let's say you blow breakfast or you blow lunch. Let's say you have your waffles in the morning, but then you have a salmon Caesar for lunch, and then you have your lamb and vegetables for dinner. You don't have any bread. You're good the rest of the day, and then you don't eat past 6 or 7 o'clock. You're up till 10 or 11, and you don't eat anything. And then you wake up the next day, 7, 8 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. Now you're on a 12-hour fast. Guess what? You're going to see how loose your pants are. Because your body's in fat burning and you're in a fast. And your body likes that. That's what keeps insulin levels stable. Puts your body in something called autophagy. It helps clear out all the junk out of the cells. So these are little things. We talk about these at the workshops, but it's so important that you give yourself the repetition, because every time you come back to a workshop, you're going to be like, Cecile, you've heard that before, haven't you? Yeah. When I call your name, sometimes it means that you're falling asleep on me. Cecile wasn't. I was just playing. We're just having fun. We're allowed to have fun, right? Okay, is everything I'm saying making sense to everybody right now? Yeah. Okay, and we're here, and many of us have been here before, and it's okay. But nobody's perfect, but we just need repetition. Repetition is the mother of all skill. Yes? Yeah, you can put, slivers of almonds. You can put that on fish. Like you can make that with your salmon. So, the almonds, the walnuts, these are good. Whenever I go to Fresh Market, I always try to get the organic, not salted, not roasted. You don't want the chemicals on there. But the nuts are a really good source, and they're very, very important. Cashews, organic cashews, really, really important source of these good fats, the omega fats. And they are hugely important, yes, for your blood sugar, but also for anti-inflammatory purposes. And you're going to see next month when we go into the brain workshop, you're going to see how important these good fats are. For most of you, we took your blood, we did your blood test, right? And we looked at the omega-3, it's supposed to be between 8 and 12%. And I've only had a handful of people actually come into normal range. One lady, I just saw my highest reading on that ever. If it's supposed to be between 8 and 12%, she was 11.5.
and I never saw it before. Mine was at 7.5 when I first did mine, and I was taking 2 fish oil capsules a day. You will be shocked where your number is at if you've never had it tested. And if you're at the end of your maintenance plan, when we start a new plan, we always put that test in. The omega-3, we just started doing that a year ago. So if you haven't had that done by us, if you're coming due for your maintenance plan renewal, you'll see we're going to get that done for you. And you're going to want to know exactly where that number is, because that's going to tell you how much fish you should be having, how much extra virgin olive oil you should be having, how many fish oil capsules, just like vitamin D. Everybody takes vitamin D, right? How many of you were shocked at how low your vitamin D was, regardless of how long you've been taking your supplement, right? Same thing with the omega-3. And this is the one that if you're deficient in, it's almost a given for dementia and Alzheimer's. Hugely important. So stay tuned. Next month's workshop, we're going to have that. So as far as the complete clean, if you haven't tried this yet, I would strongly encourage you to do this. If nothing else, this is the easiest thing that you could do to start your day in fat burning, keep your glucose and your insulin under control, save time, save money, and it's got a multivitamin in it. It's got everything you need, low-level detox. Most of my patients are doing this to help keep their blood sugar in check, especially in the morning. Some of the tried and true blood sugar supplements. These are supplements that we have had as far as our blood sugar suite for a good decade now, and almost everybody kind of knows the validity of them, and their ability to stabilize and control blood sugar levels. So if you're not aware of this, Ultraplex Glucose, it's helpful in supporting glucose metabolism. It helps your body regain insulin sensitivity. This one here, the berberine, studies have shown that it's just as effective as metformin, as stabilizing and correcting elevated glucose levels. It's good for your immune system. And then the alpha-lipoic acid, it's not just good for your immune system, but it's an antioxidant that helps with maintaining good function of all your cells in your body, and also for glucose utilization everywhere in the body, of all the cells. So this is a powerful, proactive, supplemental plan for you. I do not say take these instead of your medications, but if you want to get on a good, going in a good direction with getting your blood sugar under control, this is a good place to start while you're making your lifestyle changes. And then when you start seeing those levels come down, it's time to go to the doctor and make sure that if you are on medication, that they're actually adjusting those dosages, because you can't keep taking the same dosage when your body starts getting healthy. Does that make sense? So these work really, really well. So I want to encourage you to take advantage of that. If you need those, they're limited supplies. At the end, you'll get a 15% discount off of all those. We only discount on the night of the workshops, so take advantage of that while we have it in stock in the office. Matter of fact, any of the Ultraplex labeled resources are 15% off, but it's tonight only. All right, so is exercise important? Can that help with your blood sugar?
Yes.
All right, so the question is, how much does it actually help? Science shows that when you exercise, it does help a little bit. But I think people are under the impression that they can exercise to stabilize their blood sugar or their diabetes and not have to make that much of a change in their nutritional approach, and that couldn't be further from the truth. So here's a study that went on for over a year. People over the age of 65, 107 people. And here's what they found. There were 3 groups. How many groups?
3.
3 groups. They were put on a weight loss program, and then another group was put on a weight loss and exercise program, and then there was a group that just did the exercise only. And you'll never guess what they found. The weight loss only, they improved insulin sensitivity by 70%. No exercise at all. Just to show you what makes the biggest difference. If they lost the weight and they exercised, the exercise helped improve it by 16%. Not a lot, but it's worth doing for sure. but clearly you could see the weight loss group had the biggest effect on their insulin sensitivity. Losing weight, hands down, has the biggest effect that you can do to reverse diabetes. The ones who exercise without the weight loss, what did they see? Nothing. Yeah, no change at all. So the most important thing that you can do, if you're serious about losing weight, getting your blood sugar under control, reversing your A1C, your blood glucose, all that, is lose weight if you need to lose weight. That's the biggest factor. So in our office, when we do a weight loss program with our patients, we don't just look at the person's weight. We look at more important things like how much visceral fat, how much fat do you have around your liver, your heart, your gallbladder, all of these things, because that unhealthy fat is what causes years to come off of your life. We look at things like your body fat percentage. What good does it do a person to lose 10 pounds and all they lose is muscle and water? Shouldn't it be that when a person loses 10 pounds, David, shouldn't it be that like 10 pounds of fat? Do you want to lose 10 pounds of water, or do you want to lose 10 pounds of this? 10 pounds of this, right, Bonnie? Feel that. Feel that. How much does that weigh? What do you think that weighs? 5 pounds? Yeah. So you want to lose, like, if you wanted to lose, Bonnie, if you wanted to lose 20 pounds, you're talking about 4 of these. And that's a good start. I mean, there's a lot of people that I work with, they're walking around with 100 pounds of actual visceral fat and body fat, 100 pounds. You know, so if you could lose 7 or 8 of these, how much lighter would you feel? How much less would your back hurt? How much less would your hips hurt? How much less would your knees hurt? How much healthier would your insides be? And how much longer would you live? Because this is the silent killer. So when I talk about a weight loss program, it's not about the weight loss. It's about the fat loss. And how do you target fat loss? Well, you have to get the hormones under control, and you have to have the right supplements and the right food plan to target your body and make sure that it gets into fat burning. Right, Micheline? Micheline did it. She knows how it works. So the body mass index tells you where you're at, because if your BMI is over 30, that's the highest risk for heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. We know that. But if you're overweight, you may be between 25 and 30. And then we have to look at all these other metrics. And then the most important out of all these things is your metabolism. We look at your metabolic age. So let's say you're 60 years old and your metabolic age shows 90. What does that tell you? Your metabolism is working really, really slow. What do you think it does to your metabolism when you lose 10 or 20 pounds and it's all muscle and water and you don't lose any fat? What do you think it does to your metabolism? Does it make it better, or it makes it worse? Makes it slower. That explains why when people lose weight and they only dump muscle and water, they don't lose the fat, that it always comes back on. It always comes back on because you make your metabolism worse in the process. So that's why it's so important that when you consider doing something like this, whether it's for you or a loved one, that they have to know the objective evidence where those numbers are, so that you get the right outcome. So in our office, we use a very specific strategy where we have there's a food plan, there's basically a log that you keep in terms of what you're eating, how much you're eating. We look at that log, and then we weigh you in. Every 10 days or so, you get weighed in, and we look at that graph and make sure that body fat is coming down, we make sure the muscle mass is being maintained, make sure your hydration is going up, and we make sure your metabolic age is coming down. So if you're 60 years old, you want that metabolic age to be right at that 60, wherever it is. So that's the most important thing, correcting the metabolism. And we give you a weight loss guarantee that you lose at least 15 pounds, or we put you through the program at our expense next time around. But these are some of the results. I was looking through our files, and this is before on the left, after on the right. These are pretty dramatic changes, isn't it? These are people that followed the program to a T. You read the journal, you read the manual twice, dot your I's, cross your T's, and when you do it, you get the results.
Hi, my name is Linda Tomlinson. I've been a patient of Dr. Yachter for probably about 3 years now. I initially came to him for chiropractic needs, and I went to a workshop and we were talking about a weight loss program. I normally don't try weight loss programs, but everyone I've tried thus far never worked. But I decided to try it anyway. And I tell you, it was the best decision I've made for my health. I don't longer have to take the diabetic medication anymore. I lost the weight I wanted to lose, and I have kept it off for a couple of years now. Deborah is very knowledgeable. She will walk you through it. It's one of those things where it's a matter of life, you know, because we want to be able to keep the weight off and eat healthy, and live longer, basically. So I just want you guys. I'm going to suggest that you guys try it because it really worked. I've sent 4 people that I know there that have went through the program, the weight loss program, and they look wonderful. So just letting you know, I'm suggesting it. I put my life on it, and I did, and I got the best results. So you guys should try it. Just want to let you know, I'm grateful.
I just wanted to share that with you because some of you in here, you may need to do this. And if you're not sure, then the place to start is with a body composition analysis. We put you on a scale like that. It puts a low-level electrical impulse through your body, and then there's an algorithm in the computer that breaks down your muscle, fat, water, tells you what your metabolic age is, and all of the different aspects that you need to be concerned with to make sure that you get your body healthy going through this program. Normally it's $99 to have that appointment with Deborah for the body composition analysis. Only $37 if you make the appointment tonight as a result of the program, the workshop that we're doing. She'll sit down with you, review your goals, see if you're a candidate for the program. So ask before you leave, and then we can show you how everything works from there. My last question. What does chiropractic have to do with your blood sugar? What does chiropractic have to do with your blood sugar? Matthew, you have an answer? Yeah? Okay, I'll come back to you. Joy, do you have an answer? No? Matthew, you have an answer?
Basically, what it has to do is when you get adjusted, it unpinches a nerve that may be going to the pancreas and a certain part of it that produces insulin. And when you do that and adjust it, it unpinches the nerve and it reactivates because it now has a signal.
Awesome. Did everybody hear that? Everybody give him a hand. So he just explained what you're looking at right there. And he learned that when I told him a story about a lady who walked into my office. She was bent over like this. She said, Dr. Yachter, my back is killing me. Can you help me? And I said, I don't know. Let's take a look and see what we got. Well, when I got her x-ray, that's what it looked like. And I saw the bone was out of alignment. Now, you can't see a nerve on an x-ray. But you can see if the bone is out of its normal position, and it's not protecting the nerves. It's actually interfering with it. So I just assumed that that's where her problem was coming from. And I said, based on what I'm seeing on your x-ray and your scan, all the other aspects of my testing show me that this is probably what's causing, what's going on. So let's go ahead and adjust you. So I laid her on the table, and I started moving that bone that was out of alignment back into alignment. And I felt everything move, and I asked her to get up off the table, and she stood up off the table, and she wasn't bent over like this. As soon as she stood up straight like this. So I knew something happened, but I didn't know what happened. I was just happy she stood straight up, and when she stood straight up, she had this insulin pump on her belt. I said, oh, I see what's going on. How long have you been diabetic? She said, oh, about 40 years. I said, why don't you tell me? She said, you didn't ask? I said, okay, well, let's just make sure you come back tomorrow so I can check up on you and make sure you're doing okay. So she leaves, and about an hour later, somebody runs in off the street screaming at the top of their lungs, call an ambulance, one of your patients is passed out. And I run out there, and there's Georgia slumped over the steering wheel. She's passed out. So she really was my patient. So I came back in, called the ambulance, hung up the phone, and as soon as I hung up the phone, I'm like, I wonder if this has something to do with her blood sugar. So I brought some juice out, put it on her lips, and she started waking up. So it was her blood sugar. The ambulance took her to the hospital, and I just assumed that I did something wrong. I went home that night. I was anxious. I was bothered. I didn't sleep very well. I came in the office the next day. I was studying everything. Thankfully, the next day, I saw the door open. And guess who it was? Georgia. She came back. And she came back with a big smile on her face. She was smiling ear to ear. And I did not expect that. Not only that, she came up to me, gave me the biggest hug. She's like, Dr. Yachter, I don't know what you did yesterday. I haven't slept this good and felt this good in 40 years. When's the next time you're going to adjust me? I want another adjustment. I'm like, oh, okay. I think we can do that adjustment, but just give me 1 second. I need to explain something to you. I said, on her x-ray, I brought her to the x-ray. I said, you see that area right there where the nerve's being pinched? Guess what? That area where it's hurting you in your back, that's the same area where it goes to your pancreas. And like Matthew said, I opened up the nerve channel to get you out of pain. But you know what? That is the same area that opened up the nerve supply going to your pancreas. And your pancreas probably started making insulin, but your pump was still on. That's why you passed out, because you got too much. She said, that makes sense. Now are you going to adjust me or what? And so there was nothing for me to argue about. I adjusted her. She was happy. She kept coming back. A month later, I did her progress evaluation. She told me that she hadn't had a lick of back pain, but to boot, she said her endocrinologist has her from 8 units down to 5. I said, good. Not sure if it was a fluke or not, but a month later, at the next progress evaluation, she told me he had her down to 3 units. And a few months later, she was down to 0.8 units, from 8 units to 0.8 units in 5 months. And so at that point, I knew it wasn't a fluke because I was invited to share my clinical protocol with her endocrinologist on how to reverse type 1 diabetes. Now, I didn't offer my clinical protocol because my clinical protocol was finding and correcting the cause to what was stopping her body from functioning properly in the first place. I don't cure or heal the body. God made the body, God heals the body. The amazing intelligence that He put inside of each and every one of us was designed to communicate freely through your body, as long as there's no what? No interference. Yeah. And what the adjustment does is remove the interference. Now, there's 2 ways to address this condition called subluxation. One is to address it after the person already has a problem. But wouldn't it make sense to find and correct that before it becomes a problem? You know, when I saw that in Georgia's spine, I also saw 40 years worth of degenerative disc disease. That means that started 40 years earlier. And when I looked in her trauma history, you know what I found? She had a car accident. She had a really bad car accident. Her back was in spasm. She was hospitalized. She was released. That was left uncorrected for 40 years. Wouldn't it have been great for her if somebody said, hey, you should go see a chiropractor, get that checked out before it becomes a problem? Nah, I don't have any pain. Well, that's pretty common. You know why? Because most of those nerves are not pain sensitive. How would you know if you have a problem until you have pain? By the time you have the pain, it's what? It's too late. The most important time to fix that is before you have a problem. And the only way to do that is to have your spine checked on a regular basis. It's no different than having your teeth checked by a dentist. Do you wait for a cavity to go get a cleaning or go get a checkup? No, you're better off. You save money, you save pain, aggravation if you go for regular checkups before you have problems. And that's the biggest benefit that you can get from chiropractic care. Not to treat problems after they're already there, not to say that it doesn't help, but to make sure that you keep those nerve channels as clear as possible for as long as possible. How long do you want those nerve channels open once we get them open?
Forever.
For the rest of your life. Do I have to see a chiropractor for the rest of my life? No, you don't have to. You choose to, if it makes sense to you, and you do everything else healthy for your body. Let me ask you this. She was on diabetes meds. She had a really good diet. She used to do brisk walks every day, and she was still diabetic. What was the missing element with Georgia? She was subluxated. You can eat good and exercise till the cows come home. You can take all the supplements that we have on those shelves. Won't do a darn bit of good if your brain can't control the rest of your body. So the most important part of anybody's health regimen is proper nerve supply, right? So that's where it was. It was right there in that middle part. You see the stomach, the pancreas. But you know, there's a nerve there's a nerve that goes to every part of the body. That's why I give all my patients a copy of that nerve chart. Because you try to tell people, like, I'm preaching to the choir right now, right? But it doesn't it empower you to know how powerful it is what you've got with chiropractic care? That it literally adds years to your life and life to your years. There are people out there that have no answer to their health problems. They're going to this doctor, that doctor, trying this drug and that drug, and they're looking from the outside. They're looking to treat the body from the outside in. And what you know tonight, what you learned, is that God put the most amazing healing power where? Inside. Healing comes from the inside out. It's not about what you can put into the body. It's about what you can let the body express from the inside out. Chiropractic is only a tool. Basically, the adjustment is a tool to remove the interference so that your body can do what it needs to do. And just imagine this. Heart attack, cancer, stroke, diabetes. If you weren't getting adjusted, then you'd have no idea that many of these problems are getting worse and worse. And with what we're doing in this office, helping you prevent these things, staying out of doctor's offices, off of medication, out of hospitals, who knows which adjustment prevented the next heart attack somebody could have had? Who knows which adjustment, how many years ago, was the one that prevented the tumor from growing in your brain? I don't know. We'll never know. You cannot put a price tag on somebody's health. It's priceless. And you know, the longer that you do this thing, the more I look back and I'm like, I look at all of my patients that are under care for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And whatever you got going on, it is minuscule and nothing compared to all the people your age who are not doing what you're doing. Right? They're the ones with the biggest set of headaches and problems with their health and their life. And you have a better understanding. You have more options. You have more knowledge. You got a bigger gap there to work with. So I'm just sharing this with you because these are things that I've been thinking about. And hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so for those of you who are watching on Facebook, whether you're a patient here or you have a family member or a friend, somebody at home who's not under chiropractic care, you have knowledge that's life-changing right now. And the question is, how do you know if a person's spine, if they've got problems or not? And the only way to know is to do an examination, right? And when we do an examination, we do a thermal scan and we look at x-rays. And it happens time and time again where people say, they come in, my lower back is killing me. And you know what? Where do we find the biggest problems? On the other end. It's like, you just never know. So the thermal scan and the x-rays, that's what gives us all of the information. The testing doesn't lie. So this is one of the ways that we help people through a consultation, an examination, x-rays, scans, reviewing the report of findings. Normally it's upwards of $400. But if you have a family member or a friend in need, you know they need to be here, don't leave without getting one of these. This is a friends and family coupon. The person that you give this to, they'll get all of that for only $97. And we rarely include the x-rays in that in the report of findings. So this is an amazing gift that you can give to somebody that you care about. So take advantage of that. If you're thinking, whoever you're thinking about right now, if they're not here, ask Deborah or Tamara for one of these up front. If you're watching Facebook, you call us and we'll make sure that we get that to the person that needs it the most. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help you, but the big picture is leading by example. You know, giving people hope, leaving our community better than we found it. And hopefully I've given you some good information tonight and as a catalyst just to get the ball rolling. But the best is yet to come. Make sure that you're here next month when we do our brain workshop, and you'll continue to learn and grow. Make application with what you've learned tonight. If you need the supplements, ask them up front. They'll get you what you need. If you need a body composition analysis, make an appointment for that. If you need to make an appointment for a new patient, for a friend, family member, loved one, ask them for that, and we'll make sure we get everything that you guys need. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Love and appreciate you guys. God bless.